Hey everyone, welcome again to the Gym Mastery Podcast, the place to be for success-oriented gym owners looking for an edge. And today we have Mattsson, who owns multiple businesses, including multiple gym locations. And Per is an innovator in many ways, and he started Coaches Congress, which is Scandinavia's largest convention for gym owners and coaches. And I'm just super excited to have him on here. So Per, welcome, man. How's everything going?
Thank you. It's good. It's good. It's a busy season right now here in Sweden, so things are moving on quite nicely. But I'm busy.
Busy's good, you know. That's
always good. I think so. Yeah. I spend a lot of time coaching my daughter's soccer team also, so that's part of the basic stuff. But that's just super fun. But I stay busy. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, the first thing I want to ask you, I was kind of going through some of the stuff that you had written, and I want to get into gym ownership and sort of how you got into gym ownership. And I know you were a school principal, and that you've moved now into this entrepreneurial world. So tell me a little bit about, the early days of gym ownership for you, and also being a school principal, and sort of how those things overlapped and like how you got to where you are.
All right. Yeah. That's actually, it was kind of a crazy period, I think, but I was working as a teacher, also working extra at the gym as a body pump instructor. So I was basically into helping people and coaching in different ways. And then I had some problems with my vocal cords, so I actually had to quit working as a teacher. And then out of like more or less a coincidence, there was a job opening for a vice principal. So that's where it started. So I applied for that and got the job. And at the same time, I think more or less gave up as a body pump instructor also because of the vocal cords. And I just read something in a magazine about CrossFit. I started trying some workouts in the gym, and this was like 2009. Okay. And I had a PT, and he was also the co-owner of that gym. He saw me working out and wondered what the hell I was doing, basically. And I tried to explain. Because we were not super happy about the results that the members in that gym had over time. So we both wanted to try something new, and just did like a 6-week outdoor training camp with a group of people. They had it for free if they gave us feedback around the training, and it was kind of a success. So we just decided to start something called CrossFit, right? So he took the level 1 in Stockholm, and then we just affiliated. I had no clue basically what CrossFit was.
And so what number were you like in Sweden, or were you one of the early ones?
I don't know if we were like number 3 or number 4 or number 5. It's more, some of us, we started more or less at the same time.
Okay. So all around that same, you're in the original wave.
I think at least top 5.
Okay.
All right. So we started that, and that was more or less the same time as I started as a vice principal. And I think, I didn't really know what I was doing. So for me, it's like, what's the next step after being a teacher? If you think that you are a good leader, and if you really want to make an impact in schools, you need to become a principal. So I think, part of my personality is that if I see things that you can improve, I become a bit frustrated, and then I really, really try to improve. So, if you want to improve a school or a school system, you need to at least be a principal to have some impact. So I think, that was just a natural step for me. And I didn't really think it over whether, if this was going to be too much for me to run a gym and be a vice principal and a parent at the same time. I just took it on. Yeah, I just went for it. Yeah. So
how was that? Like in terms of like time, what did you find the biggest challenges were?
Time, but obviously as a vice principal, you have to work quite a lot, and then you go coach in the evenings at that new gym that you run, which is super, super fun, right? And I had at that time 2 daughters. I think I was still playing soccer a little bit, but I think I quit like after 6 months after opening that gym. But time, I coached all the morning classes the first 2 years, spent weekends in the gym because it was fun also, right? And we had a lot of ideas. We just did a lot of fun stuff. But I also think that I'm quite good at saying no to things. So I'm not that kind of, I wasn't working like 80 hours in the school just to prove myself as a vice principal. I did a good job, but I also went home at 4 p.m. because my day was over.
Yeah,
I think that's part of it, right?
Yeah, clear cuts. I think that's something that's really important. I think a lot of people let things sort of morph, and they don't have clear cuts or sort of structure in their life or their day. So it's like it overflows, and then you're getting time taken away. And the thing about time is that when you give it to something else, you literally are taking it away from another thing,
Exactly. And we also had a large team in the gym from the beginning, a couple of co-owners and a couple of coaches. So I think we were good at, from the start, making sure that we had a team, and we weren't like coaching every day in every class.
And
that was also part of it.
You're as a school principal then, and you have this full-time job, you have the other business, and then slowly you move your attention to full-time in the business.
Yeah, but that took me some time, right? So this was like 2010. I spent 2 years as a vice principal, and then I took a job as a leadership consultant with two of my role models around, school development and pedagogics and stuff like that in Sweden. So I took a job as a leadership consultant for 3 years. So was traveling around in Sweden and Finland and training teachers and principals and politicians. And that gave me a freer schedule, but it was harder to keep my fitness because I was traveling.
Right.
And, gyms at that time, they didn't really know anything about functional fitness or dropping weights or anything. So it was a struggle, but yeah, it was fun. So it was then back in 2015, I took a job as a principal in my hometown again, because I didn't want to be travel anymore. I had 3 daughters by then, and I wanted to try to spend more time in the gym again and really try to see where we could take that gym if we were a bit more professional. So I worked as a principal for 2 years, and then in 2017, I quit and went full-time gym owner. So that's only like 4 years ago. Right.
So it was the handoff. It wasn't abrupt. It was like nice and steady over a long period of time.
Yeah, 7 years.
Yeah. That's a good amount of time. And so you're in the gym, and you have now multiple businesses. Now I think that a lot of them are probably connected to the gym, right? So like you own you have 2 locations, a food delivery business, right? A programming application, and then physical therapy business.
Yeah. We sold that programming application and the food delivery business.
But but you created those. You built them up and got them running, and they were successful.
Yeah, with some of my co-owners. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and so that's
actually the programming application never got successful because we didn't have the bandwidth to work on it and to sell it and to follow through on it. So that was actually a major failure.
Well, that's a great point is knowing like, okay, at some point you have to be like, we're not putting any more time into this, and be okay with that, right?
Yeah. It's like, we are going to be better than True Coach, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, it's like you have a massive team of developers and millions of dollars. It's like, it's hard to compete sometimes. Yeah. And so, you also have, and this is a big talking point, is Coaches Congress. So, you're going through, you're developing the business, you're learning all these things. You started working with Two Brain. Getting mentoring, sort of getting the structures in place. And then you see this gap within the ecosystem in Scandinavia, specifically about getting people together into an event. And this is Coaches Congress. So tell us a little bit about the evolution of Coaches Congress and like where that came from.
Sure. As a leadership consultant, I was often one of the speakers at big events and congresses and conferences, like school development in region, this and that, right? And I was one of the lecturers. So I liked that kind of events, but I also saw that there is nothing like that for CrossFit gym owners in Sweden. And we also ran one of the largest competitions in Sweden. So my network in the CrossFit community was already quite large. So I just said to my co-owners that we need to put together something for owners and coaches to develop more as owners and coaches, because there is nothing like that. And I think it would be beneficial for us to start something like that. And it would be great for the community, because one of our main visions as gym owners was to really change the view of fitness in Sweden. So we needed help from more gym owners, right?
Yeah. Well, and what's the big view? So like, what does conventionally Sweden think about fitness? And then where you're changing it to more functional fitness, CrossFit style, but what's the current viewpoint?
It's kind of
like global gym style.
Global gym, but also there's a great tradition in Scandinavia around endurance sports, cross-country skiing, running, cycling, stuff like that. So a super fit person would be like a triathlete or someone who can do the run 40 kilometers or stuff like that. So yeah, we needed to change that. I thought that this is not a good definition of fitness, and it's hard for one micro gym in a little town to change that view if you want to change it nationally, right? I think that was one of the reasons that I started Coaches Connect.
And so it's to bring more people together, like meeting of the minds. Now you have two tracks, right? You got the owner's track and then the coach's track. And so obviously I'm going to, assume I've been there, I know what it is, but the gym owner track is more like business related, higher level stuff. And then the coaches is like the profession of coaching and how to get better. So tell us a little bit about like the developments of those two tracks.
Sure. From the beginning, it was like more or less only around coaching. We had some lectures about sales or stuff like that in the beginning, but we were like 80 people the first year, and we talked mostly about coaching and how to deliver better services, how to better take on new clients and not just throw them into a class, etc., etc. And then over time, as the event grew and as I saw the trends, like I could see that more gym owners needed to become more business minded. So we slowly introduced more and more presenters and topics around business and business development and stuff like that. So people could still choose, right, whether they wanted to go to like a lecture or a workshop around coaching or something more around how to grow their business. And then a couple of years ago, the event really grew because we were supposed to have Greg Glassman as one of the presenters, and then Chris Cooper and a bunch of mentors from Two Brain came. So it went really, really international. We had like 300 participants and something like that. So that was when I really needed to divide it into two different tracks to make sure that everyone who came could really get value from the event, from every lecture or workshop that they visited, right? And I think that was also the first year that you guys came.
Yeah. And so really now it's set up like the model could be that you're a gym owner and you have a team of coaches and you all come together, and then everybody has a place to like learn about this stuff they want.
Yeah,
that's very cool. And that's like, so
that's the feedback that we get anyway. So
that's when we were there. There was a ton of awesome content. We presented some stuff on goal sessions to the coaches, and then we talked about level method at a high level from a gym owner level. So it worked out really well. Now, talking about now the business itself. So your gym, the gym makes over $1 million. So it's $1 million gym, and you have multiple streams of revenue. So I think this is super key, right? It's like when a gym is focused, or any business is focused on a single stream of revenue, this is a more fragile sort of business. You want to have multiple streams. So you have group PT, a kids program with over 200 kids, and then remote coaching, each one of these being an element under the umbrella of the business. So tell us how each one of those arms developed over time. So when you first started, it was all group, right? And then how did it what was first, and then what was like, ooh, that's a good one. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think we actually started with group personal training and kids and teens because we already had that in my first gym, right? And by the time we started this gym, it was 2017. We were already in contact with Two Brain Business. So we knew more about running a gym and wanted to avoid a lot of the mistakes from my first gym. So it was sort of natural for us to try to grow multiple revenue streams. And we also do a lot of sport-specific training, and we have the physio center, and all of that were things that we wanted to grow in the first gym, but it was tougher market.
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted to put it in place from the start in this gym because we knew that this is a very promising area. So we just made sure to have it in place from the start. And I don't know what to say. It's like it's been growing like every year since then. It's we have just been very consistent in how we want to deliver our services and treated them all as a core service. And the facility is quite large, so we never really had to negotiate with scheduling or space.
Mm. And so what do you think about like the iterations of those things? So obviously they improve over time. You start at the first gym, you learn the lessons, and then you come into the new gym and you're like, okay, do this. And then now over the course of a number of years, each one of these, group PT kids they've iterated, they've improved in some way. So tell us a little bit about some of those ways that whatever comes to your mind of like how those things have improved and what lessons you've learned in integrating that.
All right. Yeah. For instance, the intro process or the on-ramp that we have is a 90-day journey, and everyone needs to do quite a lot of PT, at least 4 sessions a month over a course of 3 months. So people who start here, they have a lot of personal training as part of their introduction. So that creates a culture of, I have my coach, I do my sessions, we have goal reviews, etc. So that means that the first 3 months, they really get into that culture and that system. And then it's kind of natural for them to keep doing personal training even after those first 90 days. So that means that we almost 25% of our revenue is personal training.
And how did that iterate? How did that start? So like, was it the same, or what, did anything change, or how'd that go?
Yeah, it started as a screening process. So when we started this gym, every new member had to do a screening. They paid quite a lot for it, and it was like a 6-week program that we gave them after that screening, but no one really followed through on that program because we didn't have any touch points. We didn't do any personal training sessions. So what we did then, we basically turned the screening into a personal training journey where we made sure that they did what we wanted them to do based on that screening. So that was like a 4-week process. And then as we had more members, we just became a bit more confident. So we turned it into a 6-week journey and then an 8-week journey. And we made the packages larger. So in the beginning, the lowest package that you could take was like 2 sessions a month over the course of 2 months. And then we turned that into a 90-day journey with 2 sessions a month as the lowest option. But then we grew more confident again. And yes, okay, the lowest option now has to be 4 sessions every month, etc., etc. And we, got better at selling. So we have more people choosing the gold option now, etc. So,
and so when did those discussions happen, and how did they happen? So like when or was it one person that was like, okay, let's improve, like, and sales, the sales training, was there sales training involved? Like, how did all those things look?
Yeah, part of it, because, I'm a mentor in two-brain business. So obviously I get involved in a lot of great discussions with other gym owners around the best way to create an intro journey, or here's the data that we have in two-brain business saying that the longer the intro journey you have and the more PT you give them, the longer they stay in the gym. So then, okay, yeah, easy choice, right? We need a longer journey. We need to sell more PT. It's like the data proves it, and we have seen it all the time. And the mentees that I have had that have sort of more or less copied our journey, their arm is crazy, average revenue per member, right? So they are also successful. So it's just, recurring discussions in the owners team, and we are all agreed on the strategies and the tactics that we teach or that we share in two-brain business. So it's actually a no-brainer, right? We have more members coming in. We don't really need more members. So what can we do to make sure that their journey is even better and we make more money and our coaches have more job, right? Have more to do. It's like, it's actually a no-brainer when you think of it that way.
And
right?
Now one of the things, like, because it sounds like someone's like, oh, onboarding, and that's great, like we got all these things in place, but really what that is a system. right? Like that onboarding and that whole process is a system, and you've sort of externalized it or made it into an objective thing that's outside. And now we can tweak that thing. We can make that thing better.
Yeah.
So tell us, the importance of systems. And with Tuber, I know they're very systems oriented, because the whole idea is to get everything out into a structure, because without that structure and without what you said, recurring, without revisiting. And when you go to revisit something, it's best if you have that thing sort of in front of you, you kind of know what it is and you make adjustments. So, the importance of systems for gym owners in general, but just kind of talk, I kind of blabbered a bunch of stuff, but that's like theme wise, where we are in terms of systems. What do you think about all that?
I think it's like, how would you survive without them, right? For us, I think it came naturally because I was a principal and my co-owner, Christopher, he was like a hotel manager. So everything was around systematically improving the organization, whether it was a school or it was a hotel, right? So we had that already. And then coming into two-brain business, you get taught a lot of systems. You learn how to track your metrics. You learn how to improve your marketing. You learn how to train sales and track that. Everything is based on systems, right? And I also knew that if we wanted to improve our coaches, I needed to borrow things from the school system and make sure that I was following up, that I was coaching them, and systems all the time. Everything is a system, really, right? How do you make sure that your coaches are improving? How do you make sure that your coaches are delivering what you want them to deliver? You can't just tell them, or you can't just write a staff playbook and then think that everything is going to run smoothly. You need to follow up. You need to check in on them, but also you need to coach them.
I think that right there is just so, like, if you don't follow up. So writing the playbook is a great example. A gym owner gets this idea, like they get from two-brain, hey, you got to write a playbook. And they're like, okay. And then they put all this time into their playbook and they make it, they get their vision, they do all this stuff. And then nothing happens, right? It's like they've built it and they put it, and then it's on the shelf. And because I remember doing that. It's like, hey guys, we got a playbook. If you need anything, just look in the playbook, and then nobody does.
Right? I know. Surprise, right? It's like when you work in a school, you have this curriculum and you have everything written down. And Sweden, we have a very modern curriculum and system, right? But still you have teachers teaching like it was the 70s. And if you want to change that as a principal, you need to go in the classroom, you need to give feedback, you need to make sure that things are happening, right? So I think that was part of my system.
You basically got trained to think in systems. And then when it comes to the gym, I mean, when you look at a successful business, if you're not using systems, what's the alternative? Manual work, right? It's manual work. And so that's a recipe for failure over time, right? So in your experience working with gyms, I think a lot of people know the importance of systems. Like, we've heard it a billion times. Like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, it's really important. But what makes the difference between someone doing it or not doing it? Or is there anything tangible that someone can focus on to help them actually get systems in place?
Well, I would say that metrics are the first thing that people need to start systematize, like expenses, profit, revenue. How many members do we get every week? Or what's our sales stats? How many leads do we get? How many consultations do we have? How many people are buying? When are people dropping off if they are canceling? This stuff like that, to make sure that things like that are running smoothly. I see a lot of people basically guessing around their revenue and their costs. They don't really know. And actually, that was my situation also, like the first 2 or 3 years as a gym owner. And we ended up paying a big fine because of that. Our bookkeeping was not really professionally handled. So we learned that lesson really hard.
And so, and who fined you on that?
What would be the American or the translation? Like the tax, like the tax department, or what is that?
So like the IRS.
Yeah, basically. Exactly. IRS. So it was like $60,000.
Oh, whoa! Yeah. Damn.
But good thing here was that I was facing a possible jail sentence because for tax evasion, but they could see that I honestly didn't know anything, or I didn't know how to do it. So instead, they gave us the fine. So that was at least
Wow.
better than going into prison, right?
Yeah, that's insane. So what was the, I'm just out of curiosity, like what did you violate that was it just like you weren't paying attention to it? Because in the US that is common, right?
I know, but yeah, you need to, you have to report and you have to do bookkeeping professionally. You need to have an accountant doing that for you and signing off every year that everything is in order, etc. And we didn't do that for over 2 years. And I thought that one of my co-owners was doing it. And as I said earlier, I'm quite good at not digging into things that I'm not supposed to really. So I didn't care about it because I thought, yeah, it's being taken care of. But then I was the CEO of the business, so it was ultimately my responsibility, and that was why I was facing that jail sentence and not someone else.
Well, a $60,000 lesson, right? Like that's when you think about it's like if more people, because I mean it took me forever to get our at the gym, like for the first years there was no, but there aren't any really repercussions, because I guess it's just not the same. But a $60,000 lesson to keep your books in order, I think that any business, if you can just keep your books in order, then you'd be good.
And then all the time and money that it took to get our books in order after that also was very costly, right? So that was also the first year that we were going to be profitable, but obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah. So you were talking about measurements, right? So as the first thing for a system, because metrics, because the whole saying, what you measure, you can manage, right? Without being able to have your hands and be able to handle things, you're not going to be able to see where you are, how you're getting better. Now, again, there's a couple reasons why someone would know about this stuff. Like, oh yeah, I also know about metrics, but like, how does someone do it? Like, why is it just becoming more valuable in their mind so that it becomes worth it to do those things, or they have a clear picture of what they want in life, so they're more motivated? Or is it more like just the disciplines of knowing the fundamentals and that you got to do these things if you want to be successful? Like, what are some of the ideas around the conversations you might have with a gym owner who hasn't been doing it, who knows they should be doing it, but then they still don't do it?
That's exactly what they say. Yeah, I know what you're going to say, but I know I should be doing this, but I'm not. And they don't really have any reasons. But I think, if someone were to start doing that all by themselves and learn everything about it, etc., that would take some discipline and learning, right? I think it's the same thing as teaching a new member to get into the habits of training, etc. You need a coach. You need someone to mentor you or to hold you accountable. And how I think I don't really know any gym owner who has learned how to do all of this or is doing all of this without some sort of business coach or mentor. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably pretty rare. I think, like, when you think about, you sign up for a course and you're now, you say you go to a community college or a college or something, you sign up for like just a course and there's homework due. And you do the homework. Yeah. But if you took the book that was in the course and then you're like, I'm going to study this on my own every night, I'm going to read such and such, but then life comes in the way and you don't do it, and there's no real hard set rules, so then they just skip out on it and they don't ever do it. So it's essentially like mentoring or having a coach or a mentor that's going to guide you. They're just giving you those homework sort of deadlines that are going to make you do the things that you know you should do, but you're still not doing them.
Yeah, I think so. And otherwise you just stay good at what you were already good at when you opened your gym. Like, I was a teacher, right? I was a coach, so I was really good at coaching and developing staff members, but I sucked at tracking numbers and metrics and systematizing things. You have other people, they are really good at numbers and they know that from the beginning, but perhaps they don't know anything about leadership or growing a team or handling staff or communicating with members, etc. So it would take a really, really skilled person to put everything in place with great systems on their own in a gym, right? Because I think it's a complex business model to run a micro gym, for instance.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about, right? It's not just like you're delivering, you have a warehouse and people order things from you online and you send it to them. Like, that's pretty simple. But like with a business, you have people coming to the gym. You have to manage them the whole way through their journeys. You have all the structure of the way the classes run, the staff. It's like there's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah. I think without my one of my co-owners, Christopher here, this gym wouldn't be this successful, obviously, because I wasn't that numbers guy. I wasn't that metrics guy. So he's been the controller throughout this journey, which has been great. And then I have, of course, been learning a lot and more over the years, because I'm a mentor also. So I am constantly involved in conversations like that with my fellow mentors or with mentees. So yeah, this gym wouldn't have been this successful if we weren't a team, or if I hadn't been a two-brain mentor, for sure, or been part of two-brain at least.
It's really coming back again to those two fundamentals within with all businesses, but especially gym businesses, which is systems and your team, right? These are super important. Now, within those systems, talk to us a little bit about pricing, relevant pricing, client journeys, and then staff management in general, and sort of vision stuff. And you can kind of start wherever you want in that bunch of stuff.
All right, yeah. I'll start with pricing then, which is kind of complex but hard. We started really low with our first gym, and that was a deep hole that took us 8 or 9 years to dig ourselves out of, because it's hard to raise rates over and over again. So we knew that we needed to be a bit more aggressive when we started this gym. But it's also, one of the main reasons is that if you want a professional business where you don't have to work your ass off 5, 10, 15, or 20 years from now, you need to charge more in order to be able to pay staff members, right? Otherwise, staff members, they are going to stay for a year or two before moving on to something better in perhaps a totally different business area. So, if you want to change something for real over time, relevant pricing is key. Otherwise, how else are you going to pay yourself or staff members? How else are you going to support your family? How else are you going to build a cash reserve so you can start investing? I talk to too many gym owners in Sweden and Norway who are a bit frustrated, who are starting to get tired. They don't know if they are going to sell their gyms or not, because they are now getting a bit older. They are starting to have families, and they don't really see a future. And they still don't raise their rates. They still don't charge more for personal training. So I think that's sad. So the only alternative is to charge more. We can't compete with the volume-based models that global gyms have, right? We really need to understand what we are supposed to be delivering. This is, if we do a micro gym model well, it's a high-end service. And I really can't see why people don't want to realize that.
Yeah, and what's the difference between people that do realize that and don't realize that? So is it overcoming the fear that people are going to leave, or that they're not delivering enough value? That's really what it comes down to.
I think it's mostly around fear, because if you run a micro gym for a couple of years, you tend to befriend a lot of the members, and perhaps they are your friends, perhaps they are your relatives, and perhaps you live in a small town and you think that everyone is going to hate you if you raise rates or something. So I think that's a struggle, especially if you're the only owner, because who are you going to discuss this with, right? It is scary. It was super scary when we started raising rates. But in the first gym, we were 4 co-owners at that time. And in this gym, we have always been 2 or 3 or 4 co-owners. So it's been so much easier for us. As a mentor, I am that person who sort of help them overcome that fear, and I change their mindset and ask them questions about their family and who they want to support, or what's most important over time, you and the business and your staff, or if someone is angry with you or not, etc. But if you're the only owner and if you have no one to talk to about this, come on, it's kind of a scary decision, right? So I can see that people are afraid of raising rates.
Yeah, it's overcoming the fear requires a connection to what's most important, right? And in order to overcome that, and it's the same thing with your systems, and doing the disciplines has to do with connecting to really what you want in your life.
Yeah. And I mean, how could I motivate to my family, to my kids, that I quit as a principal a couple of years ago. That was a well-paid job, and now I only make like a couple of $1,000. So it's going to be hard for us to go on holidays or basically do anything for the rest of your life, at least until you grow up and move away and support yourself. That's crazy. Come on. And I think we just need to
step up
and really understand that what we are doing is super, super valuable.
Yeah.
It's like we're not bluffing anyone, right? We are delivering perhaps the best fitness regime that can be delivered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm trying to sell candy to someone and overprice it or anything, right? It's like, yes, if you buy personal training from us, if you add nutrition, and then if you every now and then go to group classes, you are going to become super fit over time.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. And I think like a big thing with gym owner, that whole martyrdom, the whole idea of like sacrificing and grinding. I'm the entrepreneur. I got to put in the work. I got to do these things. And then someday when I do enough, I'll be enough and I'll be able to do all these, but it's like really just fast forward the idea and do it now.
Yeah. I think something that was really interesting with Coaches Congress was that our friends, Oskar Johed and Kalle Solberg, who are also gym owners here in Stockholm and who are also part of Two Brain Business, they visited Coaches Congress, I think, the first time in 2015 or 16, and they had just started their gym by then, I think. And I remember people telling me and reacting on that they were so business-minded. Oh, these guys, they only talk business. It's crazy. And I was like, fantastic. That is exactly what we need, right? And yeah, obviously they now run one of the most successful gyms in Sweden. It's like, how can we react negatively to a couple of business owners coming into a conference and being business minded? It's like,
right? Isn't this what we signed up for? So I think that like fundamentally, these structures are super important, and having the idea when it comes to pricing, having the idea of what it is you want for your life, and realizing that it's the connection with how much you're charging, but that how much you're charging is really dependent on how much value you're delivering. So it comes back to, if you can deliver more and more value, your clients will be happy to pay. If you're super scared, either because you know everybody, or you are a little bit concerned that you're not delivering what you wanted, then that requires focus on those things, right? And then I can make those better, and then I can warrant and be congruent with asking for more money, essentially.
Yeah. And I also think that to us, it has always been very important that our staff members can live a nice life and support their families, and that they shouldn't have to work their asses off so they can focus on feeling good, being healthy, have energy for their clients, etc. So again, we need to charge relevant rates.
Right. And so, along those systems, another one is the client journey. And you talk a little bit about your onboarding already, where, it's iterated multiple times. Now it's a 90-day process. And so how does the client journey from a system standpoint look for you?
What do you mean?
What have you systemized? So you have the onboarding. Are there other elements within the client journey, maybe after the 90 days, or how does that all work? Just general client journey systems idea.
All right. Yeah. So we just make sure to never really lose them out of our system in terms of follow-ups and coaching. So we have, in the beginning, the first 90 days, we also do a goal review every month. And that is, we want to often end up in the position of being that coach and the consult who is giving the next prescription, right? So this is my recommendation for you now, based on what you're saying to me about your current progress and your goals. So after the first 90 days, then we book quarterly goal reviews. So just to make sure that we never really lose touch with any of our members, because we know that people who we lose touch with, if let's say that they do open gym only and it's not being programmed by us, they never go to group classes, we know that members like that, they are in the risk zone of canceling sometime in the future. So we just want to make sure that that is not happening, so we prevent that by making sure that they meet up with a coach. So I think that is the main thing. If anyone is in another journey like PT or nutrition, etc., we always have monthly goal reviews.
Okay. So lots of check-ins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's touch points, right? You need those touch points.
Yeah. You know, and we know that accountability is that's the key to success in any area, basically, right? Whether it's soccer or another business or whatever, you need to coach your staff members. You need to coach clients. You need to coach students if it's a school, right? So again, that's just a no-brainer. Again, we need to follow up.
Yeah.
So we just design that and write it into our playbooks and SOPs. If you have a goal review, make sure to book the next goal review 90 days out.
And so this brings up a great point, because, you know, your systems, this system specifically, client journeys, you're not going to be doing all those, right? Like those check-ins. It's going to be your staff that does those check-ins. So, you know, staff management, and then tying that in with you as the gym owner being able to step away from some of these systems, right? So get these things in place. You have a team in place, and you extract yourself. You call it firing yourself, right? So you're firing yourself from these jobs that generally gym owners will give themselves, right? Like, I got this job or this job. So you remove yourself, and then you have a team in place, and you still have to manage and sort of look at the staff, because they're a huge resource. But talk to us about getting the staff moving in the same direction, getting them, like, everybody's coordinated. How does that work for you?
Well, it takes a couple of different things, right? You need to make sure that you have a clear vision for what you want with your business, and you need to be able to communicate that to your staff members so they can buy in on it, or can say no and stop working here, right? But if they buy in on it, we have to make sure that they follow through. And that is where my role comes in. I am responsible for staff development. So everyone, for instance, who is doing more than just group coaching in this gym, I have a bi-weekly meeting with them. So I coach them, talk about their bright spots and their struggles, and then their action points for the next couple of weeks or long-term goals. We have team leaders responsible for different revenue streams. So I teach them to be team leaders. I think, you know, one of my major skills is leadership. So I think I'm quite good at training leaders and building organizations, because that was part of my job as a leadership consultant or a principal, to really train teams to be the best possible team, right? So it's I spend a lot of time with a lot of our staff members, and because I really like it. And we also know that that is perhaps the best return of investment that we can have.
The maximum amount of leverage.
Oh yeah.
Right. So you're training somebody, you're spending the time getting them to know, to think like you, essentially. Because I think that thinking in this way is difficult. There's a leap between when you open the gym, you're doing everything, you'll take care of it, to making the leap to sort of extracting yourself one level above and then more being an orchestrator. Yeah.
But it's also, you know, part of it is also me being lazy in some areas, because I am not at all interested in everything connected to client management systems or anything, you know, stuff like that. I hate things like that. So I need someone to do it. I wasn't good at numbers and metrics from the beginning, so I needed someone to do it. Now I enjoy it because I have learned over time. But there are so many things about running a business that I don't enjoy. So I also I need co-owners or staff members to do it, right?
Right.
I don't like coaching PT. I lose patience after 10 minutes. But I know that it's super important for client success and for profitability. So I can still teach staff members to deliver the best possible personal training session. I love coaching groups, but I still don't do that every day, because that would mean that our business would lose momentum, because there are other things that I need to do instead.
Right.
You know, be very clear on your expectations, be very clear on your goals, and then make sure to follow up and coach people, because you can't just expect them to buy in, understand, and then know how to work towards that. I mean,
and I think that what you just said is the product of lots of experience, which is you can't expect people to do those things. When you first start, you might expect people to do those things, but then you get enough experiences where you're like, okay, yeah, I gotta build things tighter.
Yeah. And I think that was something that I learned as a teacher, because I actually came from I was a construction worker before becoming a teacher. And I was kind of fed up on that culture, more or less all male culture. And it wasn't super open-minded all the time. And then when I became a teacher, I thought, this is going to be so great, because now everyone is going to be really open-minded. They are going to be very focused on learning and growing and, improving and innovating, etc. But that wasn't the case at all, because teachers are also scared of new things, etc. And that was kind of frustrating for me. And then when I became a school leader, I thought, now it's going to happen now, because principals, they must be brilliant at leadership. They must enjoy throwing themselves out there and taking chances, etc. But no, they were also competing among themselves. They were also afraid of what the boss might say, or, they were also humans and scared. So I knew that I couldn't take anything for granted in terms of staff members knowing what to do, or being able to take the same risks as I enjoy doing, or, so I think that was one of the best things that I took from my time as a teacher and principal. I knew that I needed to coach staff members, and if they weren't doing things, it doesn't, it didn't have to be because they were unwilling. It's because they are scared, they are anxious, they just don't know.
Right.
So that's where the coaching comes in, right?
Yeah.
How can I help you? Because you have to do these things. I know that it's scary now. I'm not going to back off from it. So how can I help you? Because we are moving in that direction.
Right. So it's your standards, keeping and staying focused on that, and making sure that, as the leader, you're ultimately responsible. As leaders, we're all ultimately responsible. If a coach isn't doing something, that's your fault. So you got to figure out how to make it so it happens in the future, right?
Yeah. And then, of course, every now and then you have a staff member that they are not delivering, even though you are coaching them over time. And then perhaps that person is not a good fit. But my experience is with teachers and with staff members that when I coach them and when I give them room to grow and when I am clear on the expectations, most people enjoy that process.
Yeah. They're getting opportunities to grow themselves, and who at the fundamentally, who doesn't want to grow, right? Everybody wants to grow.
Yeah. It's just that it's a bit scary and people are not used to it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, rounding out this, it's been an hour almost, but, talking a little bit about the perfect day, because I think that this is an exercise that, I think a lot of people know to do, but it's one of the most powerful things you can possibly do for yourself. And so when you're working with someone or helping them come up with their perfect day, just maybe walk us through what you say and how you get someone to kind of construct like what it is they're wanting here.
But yeah, it's that is an interesting assignment that we give mentees in Two Brain Business, for instance. And of course, that the answers, they change over time, right? Because when someone comes into Two Brain Business, they might be, that super busy owner who's doing everything. So for them, right there and then, their perfect day might be, I only start coaching at 8 a.m. instead of 5 a.m. and I only have 5 classes and I have time to eat lunch with my wife or something like that. And then what we try to do or what we do, we challenge them. Okay, yeah, I can see that is a better day than what you have now, right. But I'm asking you about your perfect day. You can choose freely, right? What would you do? What would you spend your time doing? Would you actually go into the gym on your perfect day? And then, perhaps for a workout, but then, what we end up having is, I think I would be on a tropical island somewhere, reading a book, playing with my kids, eating a fantastic dinner, drinking a beer or whatever, right? Listening to some music, making love to my partner. So, we have to open up people's
possibilities in the world,
right? Yeah. And it's almost like when you have new clients and you take this before picture and you show that to them after 2 or 3 years, when I can show mentees like, this was your perfect day 2.5 years ago, and this is what you wrote last week, and they can see that difference. That's crazy. Like, oh my God. Yeah, I remember, right? So that the perfect day is there for us in Two Brain, at least, to really open up people for the possibilities and to start realizing why they started their business. You didn't start your business to work 50 hours or 60 or 70 hours a week. You started your business because you had a dream and you thought that you were going to be more free because you want to spend time with your family or whatever.
Yeah, I think that perfect day exercise, it is just people, business owners, I mean, especially business owners, but in life, right? You can wrap yourself into a current reality that feels like this is it, right? Like you're up at 5, you're doing this, you're grinding, you're the entrepreneurial powerhouse, you're freaking crushing. And then you get burnt out and you're like, oh, wow. But because you have this structure in your mind of what is, it can be really difficult to extract yourself and ask like, well, what do I actually want to do? And I think the perfect day exercise is just, it is so good for that. I just, with a client, I was running through the exercise. It was exactly that same thing. They had like their current insane schedule. And then with that insane schedule, it's like, okay, I will have a 15-minute break right here. That would be a perfect day. It's like, no. And it like took so much time to open up and be like, what would you do all morning? And I think that you can't go straight to the all day, tropical island. It's impossible to go straight. It's the same way as having a goal like deadlift 500 pounds. Okay. That's not going to happen. There are steady things that need to happen in order to get you there. And those things are team and systems. Yeah. Right. It all comes back. The only way to really build it so you could possibly be on a tropical island is through the mechanisms of team and systems. Right. It's the only way. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, the key is to just be able to see that there might be that perfect day for me that over there somewhere in the future. Right. Instead of waiting until you're 65 and retire and then that's it. Right. But then you've been working your ass off.
Right. Yeah. All right, Per. Well, we're wrapping it up here, man. I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us. If anybody wanted to get in touch with you as a mentor or just to talk or whatever, where would they go? What would they do?
They could email me. It's I think you're going to
I'll put it
my
down.
Email address in the notes, but email me or look me up on Two Brain Business website. I think that's the easiest way.
Perfect.
Or I'm super fast on Facebook, so if they want to send a friend request or something, fine. But email me.
Awesome, Per. Well, thanks so much, man. Lots of gold here, and I'm excited to get everybody. So hopefully see you in January when we go to Coaches Congress. Anybody who's interested in Coaches Congress, where would they go?
Coachescongress.com.
Okay.
Or again, email me and I would point them in the right direction. Or there is an open Facebook group that is called Coaches Congress.
Okay.
So
perfect.
Some different options there. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, man. I'll hopefully be seeing you soon. And just want to thank you, man.
Thank you.